You are standing in the shower, winning an argument against someone who is not there. You predict what they would say. You revise your reply. You notice that your imaginary version of them is being unusually unreasonable. Then you remember something embarrassing from 9 years ago and briefly become angry at your previous self. This is a spectacular amount of mental machinery to deploy while washing your hair. So when did humans become conscious enough to do all this? There probably was no single morning when an ancestor opened their eyes and became the first creature with an inner world. Human consciousness seems to have emerged in layers: attention, memory, emotion, social prediction, planning, symbols, language, and a model of the self accumulated over evolutionary time. The result was not simply a brain that experienced the world. It was a brain that could experience itself experiencing the world, then worry about how that experience looked to everyone else. Before building a timeline, we need to clarify what consciousness means. The word is used for several different things. It can mean being awake rather than unconscious. It can mean having subjective experiences, such as feeling pain or seeing red. It can mean being able to focus on information and use it to make decisions. Or it can mean reflective self-awareness, the ability to think, I am the person having this thought. Those are related, but they are not identical. A creature might feel fear without writing an internal autobiography about being a fearful individual going through a difficult chapter. And consciousness does not fossilize. Skulls can preserve brain size and shape. Tools can reveal planning. Pigments, ornaments, and carvings can suggest symbolic thought. But no fossil comes with a small label reading, "This individual had vivid dreams and complicated feelings about their father." That means any evolutionary timeline must be cautious. The oldest layer is probably not uniquely human at all. Long before our lineage existed, animals were sensing their surroundings, selecting important information, approaching food, avoiding danger, and changing behavior after experience. Whether every animal performing these actions has a subjective inner life is still debated, but human consciousness clearly rests on ancient systems for perception, arousal, emotion, and attention. Attention is especially important. The brain receives more information than it can process in detail. Attention acts less like a camera recording everything and more like a spotlight operated by a nervous stage manager. The sudden movement gets illuminated. The distant sound is promoted. The feeling in your left sock remains ignored until this sentence mentions it. This selective system is ancient and practical. An animal that treated every leaf, shadow, itch, and digestive noise as equally important would not achieve wisdom. It would achieve paralysis shortly before being eaten. Another layer was memory. A mind becomes more flexible when it can hold information from moments ago, compare it with the present, and use past experience to guide the next action. The immediate present becomes thicker. It includes what just happened and what is likely to happen next. Over time, more powerful memory systems supported longer plans. A food location could be remembered. A tool could be carried for later use. A route could be adjusted based on previous seasons. The mind was no longer trapped inside whatever happened to be directly in front of it. Memory also made simulation possible. Instead of physically trying every option, a brain could test some possibilities internally. Go left, wait, approach, run away. Perhaps do not poke the large animal with the irritated face. Then there was social life. Our ancestors did not evolve as isolated problem-solving machines. They lived among individuals whose alliances, moods, intentions, and memories mattered. Food was shared. Infants required care. Cooperation offered benefits, while betrayal carried costs. In that environment, other minds became part of the landscape. Predicting a leopard is difficult. Predicting another primate is worse because the primate may be predicting you. Social living rewards sensitivity to gaze, expression, status, intention, and reputation. It encourages a brain to build working models of what others know, want, and might do next. Once a brain models other individuals as agents, it may also gain new ways to model itself. I can see that you are watching me. I can imagine what you think I am doing. I can adjust my behavior to influence your opinion. This is not yet the full modern self, but it is part of the scaffolding. The self becomes one important character in a network of modeled minds. Brain expansion added more processing capacity, although brain size was never a simple consciousness meter. According to the fossil record, brain size in our lineage increased only slowly from about 6 million to 2 million years ago. It increased further after 2 million years ago, then most rapidly between roughly 800,000 and 200,000 years ago. Across human evolution, brain size roughly tripled, but a larger brain is expensive. The modern human brain represents only a small part of body weight, while demanding a remarkable share of the body's energy. Large heads also make childbirth more difficult, and slow brain development contributes to an unusually long childhood. Evolution does not pay those costs merely to produce better daydreams. Larger and more interconnected brains could store more information, coordinate more complex behavior, adapt to unfamiliar environments, and manage increasingly demanding social lives. Long childhood then created another feedback loop. Young humans had more time to learn from adults, practice skills, absorb local knowledge, and discover which berries were food and which berries were a memorable educational event. By around 790,000 years ago, there is evidence of controlled hearths at Gesher Benot Yaakov in what is now Israel. Fire meant warmth, protection, cooking, and light after sunset. It also created a place where individuals could gather, share information, watch one another, and perhaps communicate in increasingly sophisticated ways. We should not imagine that sitting around a fire suddenly created consciousness. But shared attention matters. Two individuals can look at the same object while also understanding that they are looking together. That allows teaching, coordination, imitation, and eventually shared meanings. Symbols added another major layer. A symbol is powerful because one thing can stand for something else. A color can indicate group identity. A bead can communicate status. A mark can record a quantity. A sound can refer to an animal that is not currently present, which is useful because animals are often inconsiderate enough to wander out of view. The archaeological record shows pigment use by at least 350,000 years ago, although pigment may have served practical purposes as well as symbolic ones. By around 100,000 years ago, ornaments and some burials suggest increasingly elaborate ideas about identity, belonging, and possibly death. Organized markings from tens of thousands of years ago may have stored information, though researchers still debate their exact meaning. By 40,000 years ago, people were producing abundant paintings, carvings, figurines, and musical instruments. These dates are not birthdays for modern consciousness. They are minimum dates for behaviors that happen to leave recoverable evidence. Spoken language, private rituals, gestures, songs, and stories can vanish completely. Language itself does not fossilize, so scientists do not agree on exactly when complex language emerged. Its foundations probably developed gradually from older abilities for vocal control, gesture, imitation, shared attention, memory, and social inference. Once language became sufficiently powerful, it transformed what minds could do together. Information no longer had to die with the individual who learned it. Plans could be negotiated. Absent places could be discussed. Social rules could be named. Stories could connect events across years and generations. Language may also have changed reflective consciousness. Words give the mind labels for emotions, categories for experience, and tools for organizing time. They help create the autobiographical self, the ongoing story that links the child you remember, the adult you currently tolerate, and the future person who will definitely begin exercising next Monday. But language probably did not create consciousness from nothing. Infants and many animals appear to have rich perception, emotion, attention, and memory without human-style speech. Even among adults, inner experience varies. Some people report constant inner speech. Others think more through images, sensations, or abstract patterns. Language seems less like the electrical switch for consciousness and more like a powerful upgrade to an already operating system. The same is true of art, ritual, and religion. They did not necessarily announce the first appearance of an inner world. They made inner worlds more shareable. A private fear could become a warning story. Grief could become a burial practice. Group identity could become an ornament, a song, or a painted sign. Human consciousness was becoming cultural. Each generation inherited not just genes and a brain, but concepts built by previous minds. Eventually, writing allowed thoughts to survive outside any living nervous system. A person could argue with someone born centuries earlier, which greatly expanded humanity's supply of unavailable opponents. This layered view avoids several common mistakes. Bigger brains did not automatically mean more consciousness. Homo sapiens was probably not the only human species with complex inner lives. Neanderthals had large brains, sophisticated tools, social care, and symbolic behaviors. Nor should we assume other animals are unconscious simply because they cannot explain their experiences in words. Most importantly, evolution rarely produces a finished feature in one dramatic leap. It modifies older systems. Attention was added to perception. Flexible memory widened the present. Simulation opened possible futures. Social prediction filled the world with other minds. Symbols allowed one thing to represent another. Language made experiences discussable. Culture stored those discussions across generations. Then these layers began feeding one another. That brings us back to the shower argument. To argue with an absent person, your brain must retrieve the past, simulate the future, model another mind, generate language, monitor your own performance, and place everything inside a story about who you are. No ancestor needed that exact package all at once. Each layer had practical uses long before it became part of modern self-consciousness. Human consciousness may not be one mysterious object that appeared at a particular date. It may be what happens when many older mental tools become deeply integrated, until an animal can not only notice the world, but imagine worlds, share worlds, and wonder what sort of creature is doing the imagining, which is an extraordinary achievement, even if we mostly use it to win fictional arguments before breakfast.